All right, welcome back, or if it's your first time here, welcome. My name is Morgan, and on this channel, I create lots of different food content. I'm also on TikTok and Instagram, where I go by the handle Morgan Chomps. I have lots of different series on this channel. I have food fails, I have Reddit stories, but I want to kind of start dipping my toes into food history as well. So that's what we're going to dive into today. I found some article that talks about 10 insanely bizarre food origin stories, so we're going to go through that one together. Before that, I feel like I have to address the fact that yes, I am sunburned. It has been cold here in Colorado for so long. We finally had a few warm days this weekend. I was outside. I kind of forgot to use sunscreen here and there. Don't be like me, obviously wear sunscreen, but this is the result of that. And because it's summer, today's drink is this True Lemon Kids fruit punch. I don't know, I just love fruit punch. I've always loved fruit punch, and this one's only 10 calories per serving, so I can kind of go a little bit crazy. I'm also filming this on the first day of May. I'm not sure when this is going to go up. With all of this, all I can hope to do is channel more warm days ahead. And just a quick reminder that there's always a link in my description box to get 20% off anything by True Lemon. And now with all of that said, we can get to learning some food history. I don't know about you, but my high school offered a food science, but I almost kind of wish there'd be like a food history class we could take. Classes in session. So for this, we're going to be going through this article titled 10 Insanely Bizarre Food Origin Stories. I don't think I know about any of these foods' origins, so this is all going to be new information for me. As we read through this, if you happen to know any of these beforehand, definitely let me know. All right, we're starting with one of my favorite foods, chocolate chip cookies. Sometimes a bit of creativeness can go a long way. This is exactly what happened to Ruth Wakefield when she created our favorite chocolate chip cookie. One day when making a dessert, she ran out of baker's chocolate. Instead of going back to a grocery store and complaining, she decided to improvise. She cut up a semi-sweet chocolate bar from Nestle as a substitute. Thus, our chocolate chips were born with one of the most bizarre food origin stories. I can't say we're starting off strong because I thought this was going to be like a chocolate chip cookie as a whole. They really had me thinking we were going to learn about like how an entire chocolate chip cookie was born. Like whoever came up with the idea of a cookie and then putting chocolate chips in it. Not just changing the form of the chocolate that goes into these cookies. That one was underwhelming, but hopefully the next one is better. Next up is the popsicle. The tale begins in 1905 in the home of 11-year-old Frank Epperson. One night, he made his usual sugary drink, a soda powder combined with water and mixed it with a stirring stick. He accidentally left his drink with the stirring stick outside in the middle of winter. The next day, a popsicle was made. He gave some of his first popsicle creations to other kids who absolutely loved it. This made Frank realize that the popsicle would be a hit. He kept this discovery a secret for 18 years until he had the resources to distribute them commercially. First of all, if it's that cold outside, who's making themselves a cold drink? That would not be me, but honestly, I'm just cold all the time, so who knows? I just reread this and realized he's 11 years old, so it's not like he really probably cares. It's funny because I'm not usually the biggest fan of banana flavored things, but when it comes to popsicles, I love banana popsicles. I don't know what it is about it, but drop your favorite popsicle flavors below. I know things like Slurpees and Ices exist, but I'm honestly surprised that like Coke and Pepsi have not come out with their own type of popsicle. I feel like a Dr. Pepper creamsicle would go off. All right, moving on to the sandwich. One of mankind's greatest innovations in food history is the sandwich. Apparently, it also comes with one of the most bizarre food origin stories. It turns out that the origin story of how this dish is now everywhere was born out of a man's laziness to use proper utensils. The story is that sometime in the 1700s, the 4th Earl of Sandwich, okay, I feel like I've kind of heard of like the history of the name before, John Montague requested it from his servants. How it happened? Well, that's something that people don't agree on. Some say that he was in the middle of a fierce gambling game, so he ordered that meat between 2 pieces of bread should be brought to him at once. Another story says that the Earl was extremely busy for long periods of time, so he requested a utensil-free meal. Whatever the case, we can all agree that the sandwich made getting meals a whole lot easier. Now in today's modern world, the Earl's sandwich is consumed by fast-paced employees, stressed college students, hungry fast food consumers, and basically everyone. A big thanks to you, Earl of Sandwich. I mean, again, is this really that bizarre? It kind of just sounds like something born out of convenience. It's not like we're truly reinventing the wheel here. And also, isn't there some big debate about whether like a hamburger is a sandwich or a hot dog is a sandwich? I feel like by this principle, if you're just going to describe it as meat between 2 pieces of bread, technically both a hamburger and a hot dog would be considered a sandwich, which I don't really have any problems with. I mean, why would I? With this story, I'm kind of just left being like, cool, but was it that crazy? No. I live around an airport and planes are constantly landing, taking off. I truly have to do the most to talk in between it all, and it just becomes so infuriating. Anyways, the next one is pink lemonade, and I was just talking about this with my sister of like, what is the flavor of pink lemonade? And I actually kind of meant to Google like, what the heck is pink lemonade? But now here it is showing up, so I'm intrigued. Drinking freshly squeezed lemonade mixed with crushed strawberries, raspberry juice, and cranberry juice to make it pastel pink is perfect for a hot summer day. I've never heard of people making pink lemonade, and I had no idea that that's what made it pink. Okay. We're lucky that pink lemonade is great now because its first versions were just gross, epic failures that would never pass food safety regulations. According to the book How the Hot Dog Found Its Bun, there are 2 origin stories behind this drink, and both make for some bizarre food origin stories. The first story tells the tale of Pete Conklin, a circus concession worker. One day he ran out of water to make his lemonade with. Instead of calling it a day, he tried to find more water, which he found in the dressing room. Problem is, somebody just used it to clean their pink stockings, giving the bucket of water a pastel pink hue. Ignoring all health concerns, Pete used that pink water to create his alleged strawberry pink lemonade. Okay, I think we've safely reached the bizarre part of this video. His business skyrocketed because of his new twist to the usual bright yellow drink. Too bad it's not refreshing as it seems. The second tale recounts an accidental discovery by Henry Allett, another circus worker. He dropped red cinnamon candies in a glass of lemonade, resulting into the rose-colored lemonade we know today. But while we don't know which version to believe, at least we learned 2 things. The pink lemonade was invented by circus workers. Don't drink or eat based on food color. Yeah, I can get behind that. Surely, the drink has one of the most bizarre food origin stories. Okay, I'm trying to weigh in my mind if I would rather drink cinnamon-flavored lemonade or if I would rather drink pink lemonade and it's pink because of somebody's stockings. Let me know in the comments. I feel like I'm leaning towards the cinnamon flavor because while it sounds more gross, tasting, I think I can sacrifice taste for cleanliness. Yeah, I'm definitely going for the cinnamon option. Next up, we're talking about potato chips. Once upon a time, a customer dined at Saratoga Springs Moon Lake House. Like most people, he ordered the house specialty, Moon's fried potatoes. Chef George Crumb gave him exactly what he ordered, but the batch of fried potatoes kept coming back to the kitchen because the customer kept complaining that they were too thick. Who wouldn't be upset with an annoying customer who insults your cooking? Valid. This led Chef George Crumb to cut the last batch of potatoes as thin as possible, fry them to a crisp, and add tons of salt. I really do respect this guy's dedication to being petty. Crumb thought that now the chips were surely inedible. Surprisingly, there's a twist. Once his revenge dish was served, the customer took his first bite and loved it. Our potato chips were born. Now you know that every potato chip lover will forever be grateful to the annoying customer and Chef Crumb's unexpected revenge plot. By labeling this as a revenge plot, it's reminding me of that one SpongeBob episode where SpongeBob and Mr. Krabs create the nasty patty to literally off the fake health inspector. This has a much happier outcome than that. Next up is hot spicy chicken. You know what? It's actually kind of fitting that spicy chicken and lemonade are both on this list because I feel like that food combo is just one of the best. Do you love the feeling of eating spicy food? Then you can definitely recall taking the first bite of sizzling hot chicken. The aggressive spice takes over, leaving a sting lingering in your taste buds. From what we know, hot chicken is a definite must-try for those who like it spicy. And Nashville's Prince's Hot Chicken Restaurant is where it all began, the place of one of the most bizarre food origin stories. Yeah, we'll be the judge of that. The story dates back to 70 years ago in the home of Thornton Prince, an infamous womanizer. Oh, good for him. After a night of playing with other girls? What does that mean? He found his girlfriend not so pleased about his other affairs. To get revenge, she served him extra spicy hot chicken for his Sunday morning breakfast. Unfortunately for her, Prince loved his chicken spicy. He created his own recipe and began cooking it at his restaurant. The rest is history. Hot chicken became a hot recipe. As for the Prince men, well, they just happen to own the hottest restaurants in Nashville. Guess there can be some pleasure in pain. So what you're saying is that a woman actually invented spicy chicken and then a man just took that idea and ran with it? Sounds about right. But again, with another revenge plot involving food. The lesson I'm learning from all of this is if I ever want to create a food, I should just get really mad at somebody and then make them a dish. All right, we've reached nachos and I could go for nachos so bad right now. When we see nachos in front of our LED screens, we remember the mouth-watering melted cheese, the deliciously gooey garlic cream, the bright green cilantro, plus all the pounds of beefy goodness. It's no doubt that nachos are one of the universe's greatest inventions. True. The tale of how this dish came to satisfy our gastronomic pleasures begins decades ago in the middle of World War II. In 1943, a group of American military wives lived together at Eagle Pass, Texas. To avoid seclusion at the military base, they often wandered to nearby towns, one of which was Piedras Negras in Mexico. I sincerely apologize for probably butchering that, but we're moving on. One day, these women ventured to the Victory Club restaurant. The maitre d' Ignacio Nacho Anayawas, again, apologize for how I'm saying that, was happy to meet them, but unfortunately the chef was away. He didn't want them to just leave, so he decided to improvise with some jalapenos, grated cheese, and tortilla chips. Long story short, once the women loved it, the nacho business skyrocketed. Moral of the story, the desire to please women can lead to extraordinary feats. Okay, totally agree with the last sentiment, accomplishment. Also, this guy's nickname being Nacho, that's amazing. I guess it becomes more amazing after the fact, after he created the dish. He was kind of the first Nacho Libre. It just makes me so happy for some reason knowing that Nacho was actually somebody's name. Ooh, we're getting a little bit fancier with this next one. We're going to be talking about crepe Suzette. When a famous person expects something from us, our stress levels go haywire. Do they though? Honestly, I can't even think of a celebrity that I would truly be like, oh my god around. I don't know, I just have this weird thing where I'm like, it's just a person. But I do feel like if I met Steve Carell, just because of how amazing of a human being he is, my heart might just start to beat a little faster. We're too scared to move and too nervous to think, which sets the stage for potential failure. This is exactly what happened to Henry Charpentier. Okay, I know I read that in the most American way possible. I'm not going to attempt the last name, but I will say it's probably Ennui. Ennui was a 14-year-old waiter who worked at Monte Carlo's Café de Paris, accompanied by his uncle, a famous chef. His task was to serve crepes to the Prince of Wales. Turns out he was right to panic. He accidentally spilled some brandy on the flames and flambéed the crepes. Ennui couldn't exactly make the Prince of Wales wait. He tasted his creation and actually liked it. Serving an accidental dish to a prince was surely a terrifying gamble. Luckily, the prince loved it. He named the dish crepe Suzette in honor of a woman who was one of the prince's guests. The next day, Ennui received a jeweled ring, a Panama hat, and a cane for his excellent service. Oh, just what I want, a cane! As for the crepe Suzette, it became a world-famous dish, and they all lived happily ever after. And that, folks, is among the most bizarre food origin stories. Okay, I say this with peace and love. I don't think the author of this article understands what the word bizarre means. These things are not bizarre. At the most, they're interesting, but they're not bizarre. Well, maybe the pink lemonade one was bizarre, but like all these other ones, if you like history, you know there are some weird, bizarre things that have happened. Like I was just reading somewhere the other day that people used to put frogs, like live frogs, in milk to keep it fresh. At least that's what they thought it was doing, but like how disgusting is that? That is bizarre. Some guy accidentally messing up a dish and then serving it to the Prince of Wales is not bizarre. I just had to say it. Next up involves one of my favorite foods. You guys know it's ice cream. We're talking ice cream cones. The ice cream cone is one of the most important innovations in ice cream history and also ranks among the bizarre food origin stories. Again, we'll be the judge of that. In fact, before it was invented, ice cream was either licked out of glass containers or wrapped in paper. In short, eating ice cream was gross. Did ice cream exist before bowls and spoons? I mean, seriously. Like, there's no way it was, but why are people acting like that was not an option? I am so genuinely confused. Who would want to eat in a glass licked by so many people? Oh my god, we're sharing the glass? Again, there had to be spoons and there had to be more than one. That's so disgusting. But even if it was unsanitary, the demand was high. Ice cream vendors usually lacked the time to properly wash the dishes when people kept demanding it in hot days. Fortunately, in 1904, the invention of the ice cream cone saved all ice cream lovers from everyone else's slobber. Oh, that's so disgusting. Although Marcioni is credited as the inventor, a similar version was introduced in 1904 at the St. Louis's World Fair. A Syrian concessionaire named Ernest A. Hamwi rolled his waffle-like pastries known as zalabis into a cone. He gave it to his neighboring ice cream vendor who ran out of dishes to serve his ice cream with. Long story short, the customers were happy, ice cream vendors had less hassle, and eating ice cream was a lot safer. Okay, so I don't know when like the very first cookie came out, but I feel like cookies just as easily could have become the vehicle for ice cream. Like I know we have ice cream cookie sandwiches now, but I'm just thinking back then, I have a cookie, I have some ice cream, dip. Also, I don't know if you could get like a cookie and ice cream at similar times, if that wasn't even a thing. I don't know. I'm just speculating. Who knew a good deed could go a long way? While we're on the topic, have you ever had a pretzel ice cream cone? A local ice cream shop, there's like several locations around Colorado. It's called Sweet Cow. They offer this pretzel cone, and let me tell you, as a sweet and salty person, a game changer. All right, we finally reached the last one, which is Worcestershire. Alexa, how do you pronounce Worcestershire?
I pronounce that Worcestershire, but I'm always working on how I say things and I might not have it right.
Me. All right, so let's learn about Worcestershire sauce. That still does not sound right. As we all know from our history books, the English colonized India to gain access to spices. I mean, facts, but why are white people then so against or like incapable of using seasoning and spices? It defies logic. Spices were so rare and so exotic that these seasonings were fought for by other countries. If they were so popular, it wouldn't be surprising if someone tried to recreate them locally. A nobleman attempted to do just that by commissioning two chemists named John Lee and William Perrins, the most English names I have ever heard, by the way, day to recreate a sauce he loved in Bengal. But how would two chemists replicate something they'd never even tasted before? This story. As expected, the attempt to replicate the sauce was bad. The seasoning turned out to be horrible and inedible. It was so bad they forgot to throw it away. So the sauce was left in the middle of a cellar for 2 years. When the two chemists rediscovered the sauce 2 years later, we expected the sauce with all the horrible memories attached to it to be thrown away. But instead, these curious chemists defied all these possibilities by tasting it. What kind of curiosity compelled them to do just that? Listen, I doubt there was any curiosity about it. One guy was probably like, I dare you. And the other guy was like, I triple dog dare you. And yeah, I bet that was about the amount of thought they put into it. It is like drinking milk that had been expired for 2 years. But not really, because milk and spices are not really the same thing. So that's a little dramatic. Worse, it could have been poison. They could have been killed. Again, I doubt they gave it this much thought. But luckily for these chemists and all lovers of meat marinades, Bloody Marys, and Caesar salads, the magic of time allowed the horrible sauce to become the delicious and savory Worcestershire sauce we now know today. Did I remember to say that right? I guess we'll find out. What happened to the two chemists? Lee and Paris began selling the famous Worcestershire sauce in 1838. I hate to be the one to say this again, but was that bizarre? It just sounds like two people that made something, didn't like it, forgot to throw it away, found it again, dared each other to try it, they tried it, they loved it, there you go. It's interesting, but it's not like the craziest thing I've ever heard. If you told me that was the origin of beer, I wouldn't blink twice. Well, my friends, with that was 10 food origin stories. I'm not calling them bizarre because they weren't. Sorry about that. I didn't want to read these ahead of time because I didn't want to spoil anything for myself. So I didn't realize that they wouldn't really be that bizarre. They're just more interesting. Regardless, I hope you enjoyed going through a little bit of food history with me. Let me know if you'd be interested in seeing more food content like this. I would kind of love to go through the history of like one specific food or through like some kind of crazy event in food history. I love history. I obviously love food. So this is kind of like my favorite worlds combining. If anything like that sounds interesting to you, please leave me a comment. As always, I'll link my TikTok and my Instagram below. I'm very active on those platforms. I post food finds, grocery tips, taste tests. I rank foods, maybe a recipe here and there, a lot of different stuff. Remember that you can get 20% off anything True Lemon using the link in my description box. I think that's everything, so have a great week. Stay safe, eat something yummy. If you have warm weather around you, soak in those rays, and I'll see you in the next one.